I'm gonna do like a whole rant about like why the Final Fantasy VII remake wasn't great or something like that for like an hour, and then you're gonna be like, I'm never having this guy on again.
Hello, folks, and welcome to Author Adjacent, a show about the journey from hobbyist writer to professional author. I'm your host, Michael Vadney, author of Crownfall, a noble dark fantasy adventure. But today, we are talking with Jarrett Poole. Jarrett, welcome to the show.
Hello, thanks for having me. It's been a while since I've been on any kind of podcast or Twitch stream, so I'm trying to like get back in the groove a bit, but this is great.
This is a great place to start. We're very friendly here, and by we, I mean me. It's just me.
Perfect, perfect.
But we're having you on the show today because you wrote a beautiful book, like honestly, my top book of the year so far, Polycorpse. And man, thank you so much for agreeing to be on the show and for like honestly sending me there we go, this copy right here. It's an absolutely beautiful book, both like on the cover and the prose on the inside. Just thank you so much for being here, man. I'm hyped.
Thank you. No, that means a ton. I feel like I'm still at the stage when anyone reads my book. I'm just excited that they put in the time and effort. So
Yeah.
hearing that you enjoyed it and that is one of your favorites of the year is like warms my little heart. And also on the topic of the cover, shout out to Sid Mills, did the cover art. I just want to make sure
Nice.
she gets her flowers. She's done work for like I think Magic the Gathering and Wizards and stuff. And
Oh
also
wow.
Adrian Gibson did the design, so I think we share that in common with our books.
We do. Adrian did the cover design for this one too.
Just a
He's
fantastic dude.
so great to work with. Like
Hmm.
awesome guy.
Yeah,
I
we can get
cannot.
into that maybe later. My experience going through the design process and like trying to find people on Reedsy and getting this thing actually in the book form because it's a he helped me out a ton, and I can get into it.
Yeah, Adrian is a great person to have in your corner.
Hmm.
But starting off, I actually like to start with my very favorite question that I like to ask everybody is at what point in your writing path, your writing career, whatever you want to call it, did you feel like you were an author?
Ooh, do I even feel like I'm an author now? You know what I mean? Sometimes I still waffle between I'm an author and I'm a sham pretty rapidly. Um, but I would say so kind of a secret, but this isn't actually my first novel. Um, I wrote a novel, I published it, KDP'd it, all that, edited it myself. I got my wife to do some illustration for the cover. And then I left that up for a couple years and just like nothing really happened. And I took it down and I don't think I really felt like I'd made like a complete product yet. So with Polycorpse, I definitely put in more time, more effort. I have a writing group and I like put a bunch of not only effort but also money and time into being like I want this to feel like a good box product on a shelf. I want it to make me proud when I hold it in my hands, when I look at it and I go, wow, what an interesting, beautiful looking object. So this book definitely more so when I got that first copy, I'm like, oh, all right, like yeah, maybe this is a thing. Maybe I am an author. Um, so that helped kind of validate myself in a little bit, but also it's like I don't think I'm quite there yet. I've also been in the game industry for a long time as a narrative designer, which is very different than being an author. Um, but yeah, I don't know if I'm even there yet, to be honest. I think eventually I'll get more comfortable with it. Um, I think there's a lot of imposter syndrome and stuff cooking inside. I think anyone that's a creative can probably relate to that when you put something onto the world and then you have to push it and talk about it and then people do pick it up and then they want to talk to you about it, but it's kind of like awkward. I don't know, people are always like, oh, do you want to talk about it? Like, no dog, I'm done. I did the thing. So yeah, it's still a journey I'm on right now. I think with the more published books I get out, the more short stories I get in the magazines, the better I will feel about it. But I think it's an ongoing journey, and there wasn't like a hard transition where I was like, I've done it. I'm an author now. I feel like it's been achieved. So still working.
I appreciate that honesty,
What about
man. Like,
you? Actually, let me bounce
oh,
it back.
moi.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Who's the interviewer here?
It's gotta go both ways, or I'm gonna
Nah, I'm
lose
okay
my
with
mind.
that. Nah, I'm good with that, man.
Mhm.
For myself, I think when it really started to feel real, when I felt like I was actually becoming an author, was when I handed it to beta readers. Because by that point, I had worked on it for a very long time. I had gone through, I want to say, 3 or 4 drafts of it already, and already worked with a writing group to get through those first set of drafts. But then when I went to beta readers, I gave it to people who were already established authors. Like I gave it, like Adrian was one of the people. Adrian M. Gibson was one of the people that I gave it to. I gave it to MJ Kuhn and Greta Kelly. Like that's why I have all of their quotes on the back cover and the front cover and stuff. Like I gave it to authors that I known and built relationships with through this show and just being on the online community in general. And that's when it started to feel real to me, when like real authors were reading it and giving me feedback and telling me like this is what was good and this is what was bad that you need to fix. And I was like, okay, this is the first step. And then just from there, every step since has just been validation on validation. I still have tons of doubt. Every time I do something new, it is terrifying. I am a ball of nerves and anxiety. But once I do it the first time, the second time it's a little easier. And then the third time it's even easier. And it just keeps getting that way with everything that I do. Between like doing interviews, doing live shows, just talking to people about my book, or just pitching the book to live people, you just get better at it the more you do it. And you get desensitized to the nerves, or at least I do.
Yeah, yeah. So, like, how did you end up finding that kind of community of beta readers? Like, I've looked at various avenues
Yeah.
and I've gotten some and trials and tribulations through that process. But, like,
Yeah.
it seems like probably through this podcast, I'm assuming, and your work reviewing, that you kind of
Definitely.
met people.
Like, yeah, definitely. The thing about having a podcast and it's the unintended benefit of it. Like a lot of people start podcasts and start building a platform because they want to reach readers. They want to have something out there that can continue to pump out on social media to be like, hey, I'm a person. I exist. I make art. You should look at it. But an unintended consequence of doing a platform in the author space is the networking, especially when you do interviews. Because like now you and I are building a relationship right now because we're getting to know each other. And that's going to extend off the episode where we're going to talk to each other about things and we're going to help each other out. And that kind of just extends into things like beta readers. And I have a lot of people that I've met through the show and the online community who are very good acquaintances. I like working with them. But then I also have like a group of people that I've become genuine friends with because I enjoy who they are. I enjoy talking to them about books and about things that are not books, that are just in our lives. And that's just an unintended benefit that I did not expect when I started this show.
That's awesome. Yeah, everyone I've met in the community so far has been great. It's mostly been
Yeah.
online through messages and emails. I feel like I got to get to more conferences and stuff and, meet some
Yeah.
folk and get out there. Leave my apartment a bit more and do some more writing things out in the real world.
Yeah.
Very cool.
That's what I'm working on right now. I'm building up to doing Dragonsteel at the end of the year.
That'd be
But
fun.
dude, there's still
That'd be very
time.
fun. Yeah,
There's still
maybe,
time.
maybe we'll see. Yeah, there's so many things I want to do and so little vacation time to be had. Uh, but
Yeah.
but Dragonsteel, I feel like would be a really really fun one.
Yeah. I would actually highly suggest looking out in your local community. I'm not sure what area that you live in, but they might they might have like little book events and stuff like that. I live in the DFW area in Texas in the United States.
Ah,
And between the two cities, they have like book events every other weekend that you can apply to, where you just show up, you occupy a table. It's usually like really cheap because it's a local event. You spend like $40-50 on a table and you just hang out for a few hours and talk to people. It's a
Sounds
great
great.
way to practice.
yeah, I should probably look around Vancouver a bit. That's where I am in Canada. And like
there
I
you
could
go.
probably just poke around. There's a great network of local
Yeah.
bookstores that rock. Like Lucky's
Yeah.
and Pulp Fiction and Book Warehouse over here are fantastic. And I feel like they're always putting up. I need to follow them on social media a little bit more closely because I think events are happening.
Yeah,
I just
yeah,
need to find them.
that's the way to do it, man. You just got to keep your ear to the ground. And same with the community and stuff. It's just spending the time to participate and trying not to let the social media take over.
Yeah, I wrote a big dumb post about my experience indie publishing, and it was like 5 pages long of like rambling.
Oh
I
wow.
haven't published it yet on the internet. I might. I don't know. When is this thing going to go live? Maybe it'll be up by then. I can't tell. I don't even know if I
Not
want to
this
post it.
Friday, but next Friday.
Okay, maybe I'll put it up. Maybe that'll be my goal.
There you go.
Because I kind of waffled on it a bit. I'm like, is this just me complaining for 5 pages on the internet? Does anyone want this? But maybe someone does. Maybe there's some sickos out there, that would
I
that
think
would really
so.
enjoy that. Yeah,
Find him,
yeah,
sickos.
yeah,
But no, like people like that stuff. They like knowing how you created the book, especially like in the modern era of like AI and stuff like that, and
mm,
AI written books. A lot of people want to see the author, the human being behind the story. So I say,
yeah.
yeah,
I think
post
I
that
went
article, man.
to the Travis Baldree had a really great like article about indie publishing and the process that he went through and all XYZ how it works, and
Yeah.
that was probably one of the most like helpful artifacts I could find online that like really
Mhm.
really made it seem possible and broke it down. So like
Yeah.
yeah, that stuff is really good. Um, Maybe I'll throw mine out there just for anyone else that's struggling. But
I think it's
yeah,
worth it. Like I think
yeah.
people would resonate with that. Um, Speaking of like indie publishing and stuff, so
Hmm.
you took Polycorpse indie publishing. Did you ever consider taking it traditional?
Yes, I did. Um, I still think that my personal goal, whether it's going to take the next book in 3 years, the book after that in 6 years, the book after that in 9 years, whatever, I think the procedure that I'll always go through is querying first to see if I can grab an agent and do that because there's something about it. I don't know. It appeals to me. I don't know. I don't know what that is. I don't know why. I think that's just the overall goal. The idea of having a publisher that handles a lot of the marketing and distribution and editing and getting those resources like seems super valuable to me. It is kind of a mixed bag though because I've talked to other now that I'm kind of in this indie space and seeing the pros of being able to do it yourself is has been really interesting because people really really like it and there is a lot of control you get that I did enjoy. Like I have a document that just is a bunch of amazing concept artists and illustrators that I'm like, these are my cover artists for the next book. The only curse of that document is that I probably have like 30 and I'm only ever going to write probably like 4 more books, 5 more books in my life. So like it's going to, but anyways, like that was really fun. Working with Adrian is really fun and being able to do more interesting, unique graphic design with the product was great. You do kind of get to have your hands on all parts of it and actually really, really micromanage how it looks and how it ends up. I think like that there's also a big trade-off in that is that now it's all your problem. Every little detail is your problem. Getting that thing on the web stores, whether that's Amazon or Ingram or whatever, is now your problem. Posting about it online. Although I will say, from what I'm reading, it seems like even if you're traditionally published, that's still your burden to bear is
Yeah,
posting about it
that's
online.
yeah.
So
We now all have to be online personalities to make this happen, even
yeah,
with traditional. Yeah.
it freaks me right out. I was saying before we started this with you, like I've been following a lot of these independent authors that are doing such an amazing job at becoming content creators and at speaking online and networking and posting reels and TikToks and just like making like I've worked in social media marketing before and it takes a lot of work to like come up with a launch plan, to come out with a social media marketing schedule, to fill that content so you're posting 3 to 5 times a week. Like I think a lot of people look at social media and they're like, how much does one tweet cost? Like $5, like you know what I mean? And it's like it actually takes up a ton of brain power. And I've just been totally humbled and totally impressed at what everyone's doing out there in that space. And I think if there's one aspect of indie publishing that makes me want to take a brick and hit myself in the head, it's probably the social media side of it. And that's not to throw any shade at people who are doing it, because I am incredibly jealous and amazed by what's going on out there. But boy, do I hate posting online. Um, Yeah, that's a me problem for sure. And I'm getting more comfortable sharing things. Getting coverage from someone like yourself is incredibly fortunate and valuable to someone like me who doesn't want to post because I can just, you know, it's if I have one strat, one lead strat, one with this one trick, and it would be to get other people somehow covering and talking about your book because now you can repost and reshare other people's reels and other people's posts, and you can kind of like latch on and piggyback off of it to post your own post pointing at the thing, and then it by itself creates the appearance that everyone's talking about your book. That's what you want. You want it to appear that people are discussing it. And I think that is actually probably more valuable than just like me going on my Instagram and posting every single day and annoying like my like meager follower count. You know, like my aunt doesn't need me see me post every single day about my book. Like she's probably already supporting it. So yeah, the coverage is necessary and super appreciated, and I think that's the avenue to pursue. If I was going to do this again, I would build a huge list of people, reviewers, TikTokers, Instagrammers, whatever, and just like blast out an email to them. Adrian was super kind and gave me a list of about, I don't know, 10 to 20 of them, I think, and you were among them. And that was like in itself just like probably the most valuable email of this whole process. Is just like, whoa, people to email, and it worked out with many. So yeah, long-winded
Yeah,
thank you, Michael.
dude. Like I said, it's my pleasure. I thoroughly enjoyed Polycorpse, and I had a really good time with it. It hit on so many parts of like who I am now and who I used to be in such a like nostalgic way that made me really appreciate like all the hard work I've put in to be the
Aw,
person I am, while still appreciating like more broken versions of myself in the past. And I just loved how real the problems were that your characters were going through. It was very
that's
relatable.
really nice to hear. It's kind of a book. Someone was asking if it's a romance the other day, and I was like,
I'd
no,
say no.
it's more about it's more about getting out of a toxic relationship than it is about forging a new one. And it's more about, you
Yeah.
know, realizing that maybe you're kind of somewhat on some level a huge piece of shit and need to get better.
Yeah.
So if that maybe
Yeah.
that's romantic to somebody out there, but yeah, that's really cool to hear. I think the best part about doing this has been talking to people and hearing how they've connected with it, especially when that person is outside of my social circle. Like, you know, it's like one thing for your mom to be like,
Yeah.
"Great job, honey," but when someone you never met before is
Yeah.
like, "Hey, this was good. I think you were cooking." It's like, whoa, maybe they're not lying. You know?
Yeah.
so
Dude,
so I appreciate it.
no, man, you're definitely onto something here. I am excited to see what else you got cooking up.
Hmm.
You said you're working on some like short stories and stuff that you're going into, hopefully some magazines. What can you tell us
Yeah.
about what's on the horizon for what you're working on now?
I like to, between my big writing pushes on like large projects, to like step back and just do like short stories that are under 5,000 words. And that's always a fun experience with my writing group, who I adore, is because like it's not some big and over encompassing thing. You can just be like, I'm just going to explore this one little idea. So I probably have like 12 short stories, queried a bunch of them. Some live on my website, jarrettpoole.com. One of them is going into New Myths, I think, in August, but I haven't really followed up on that. But it is. It's that apparently that's when that issue and anthology is happening. And then I got another one into On Spec this year, which was my first ever like short story publication, which I was very happy about. That's a Canadian mag that's been around for a long time, and it's kind of prolific in Canada, but I think it just shut down. It was like the last issue I managed to get into, so I was like, it was like bittersweet. Yeah, I'm probably gonna do a bit more than that. I'm actually I'm also writing a new novel, more fantasy than anything. It's not science fiction, more traditional fantasy. Probably got about 20 to 30,000 words into it, and then I just like needed a break. So mostly I've just been taking the summer off after the launch of this book. I've just been getting outside, skateboarding a lot, and just trying to like detach from writing and creative work, and probably until the weather shifts, and then I can settle back in. That's my life right now. But there's always stuff cooking, and I think I'll probably constantly be writing short stories just to try to get them out there. Um, and then also kind of always cooking in a larger project. And then my brain, I usually get like part one of. I usually work in acts, and usually when I get the first act done of a novel, I'll reassess if I even want to keep doing the rest. And that's happened a couple times where I throw it aside. So I'm kind of having that crisis right now. But eventually there will be another book.
Authors are an ever-going sequence of crises in my
Truly,
mind.
truly. I watched like some dumb TikTok that was like, "Here's the tropes that I hate," and blah blah blah, and like two of them were in the next project. I'm like, "Duh, my heart."
No.
And then I was like, later, I'm like, "Doesn't matter what the hell." Like, of course it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Like, it's like as long as I think it's good, right?
Oh yeah,
I'm
like you
saying
were
this
talking
to
about
convince
earlier.
myself,
Oh, go
not
ahead.
you.
Oh, no, you're fine.
But yeah,
But no, like you were saying with imposter syndrome and stuff like that, it runs rampant in the author community of like you do so much of this in isolation and you only have yourself to bounce it off, especially in the earlier parts of writing a new project when it's not quite ready to show it to somebody. And you're like, I don't know if I'm cooking with something or I'm just burning the shit out of this meat, but
yeah.
please validate.
How do you feel when you read your book, like even like Crownfall, like when you read it now, when you pick it up and you
Yeah.
crack that spine and go to a random page and start reading, what is your reaction?
So I'm reading it a lot right now because like I've been very public about the fact that I'm ramping up and trying to record the narration for it, and I was even just like I said pre-recording. I was recording the first chapter again as I keep practicing it over and over and over again. And when I pop open Crownfall and I read it, I immediately focus on the things that I would do differently now, because the Michael Vadney that wrote Crownfall is not the same Michael Vadney that's here. I've learned so much, even in the time since I completed that novel. Like you, I've taken some time, I've written some short stories, and even remember, like, I'm working on some anthology short stories right now, and I wrote my one for the Rings of Adventure, and I handed it to my editor, who is my wife, and when she read the first version that I gave to her, I still worked on it a lot after that. But when I gave her the first version of it, she was like, this is immediately better than what you gave me when we started Crownfall. Because I've just learned so much. So then it's really hard for me to look at Crownfall and not read a line and be like, if I would have wrote that line right now, it would have gone like this.
Bittersweet, right? Because like
Yeah.
part of you is probably very happy that you've improved and that you can see
I'm
it and
very
you can
proud.
feel it, and that's
Yeah.
fantastic. And there's a side of you that's like looks at the product and you're like, I wish it could have been in this one. Like I get that
Yeah.
too, where I'm like, I think a lot of my stuff that I read when I read Polycorpse back are like structural things that
Yeah.
I'm like, I wish I explored that character's this side, or I wish I'd like done more with this act, or I wish I've set this up better. It's never like a prose
Yeah.
level, really. I say that now, but sometimes I read it and I'm like, oof. But I,
It's a
I
mixed
flip
bag.
flop. Yeah, every sentence is like a flip flop between like I think I'm cooking here and verse like, oh
Yeah.
no, this is like not great. So it is like it's just a storm inside me when I read that thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is really great. I did the experiment of going back and reading that first novel I mentioned that's now delisted, that I edited 100% myself. It was before I was in a writing group of any kind or had ever discussed work with other authors, and I'm just like, oof. So, improvement's good. Improvement is
Yeah.
good. And it's like, I think it's just going to be one of those things. I'll probably do another book, and then I'll look back at that when I do my third book and be like, oh, that one's worse. And I think all you can do is just keep getting better. And to tie it back to the trad pub thing and the agent, I do believe if I just keep at it, eventually one of them may go that direction. And if it does, great. And if not, indie publishing is always here for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's always the option of hybrid publishing too. Like I know if you're familiar with Andrew Givler, he wrote the Ironbound series, which is like all over the internet right now. And he traditionally publishes some of his books and he indie publishes some of his books. So that way he gets kind of like the advantages of both of them, where for his indie books he has full control. He makes a little bit more money off of those. But with his traditionally published books, he then gets the advantage of the distribution arm of that traditional publishing house. So then when I, Michael Vadney, go to the bookstore and I find the traditionally published Andrew Givler novel and I read it and I'm like, oh, I had so much fun. What else has this author written? I will find his indie books.
I think that's the move. I think
Yeah.
I think if you can make a big name for yourself in traditional publishing, um,
Yeah.
yeah, like even Brandon Sanderson has done this. Like he's like, I'll just do a little bit
Oh,
of
yeah.
indie publishing, and now everyone knows
Yep.
me. I'm Big Bad Brando Sando. You can just like all of a sudden have that plugged in audience. And I
Oh,
think
yeah.
that's probably the move if you ever get the trad pub is like use that moment, that spark to try to get as many readers as you possibly can. And if you get that following to do something like this, and then you can probably capitalize big time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna keep writing because it seems like the thing to do, and I'll see where it takes me in the publishing world. But yeah,
Man, we are so off the rails from what I normally do with this first interview, and I'm very happy about that, by the way. Like we're getting into some shit, and I really appreciate it.
yeah. My fear is that I'm gonna go off script, and then all of a sudden we're gonna stomp on all your well thought out questions in advance, and everything's gonna get borked. You know?
No, all of those questions are just for guides and stuff like that,
Great.
just in case to help guide the conversation. But we haven't really needed them so far, and I'm happy for it. I am kind of curious. Can you run me through like the birth though of Polycorpse? Like, how did this story become the story that you took the extra mile and finished?
It. I was actually writing another novel that was like a fantasy, almost YA magic-y kind of story about a young girl. It was had a lot to do with like whale oil and whaling and magic, and I was like, I thought it was all right, but I was getting really tired of it. I don't know what was going on. I feel like the character was kind of like every time I got feedback, people were like, I don't know, this girl's kind of annoying, and I'm like, oops, I thought she was cool. So then I was like, I need a break. And I had this other kind of world building. Polycorpse kind of started with the world and like the idea of synthesizers and how that could be used to like do these kind of witchy seances. Um, I think it's like Helen Vogelsinger. She does these videos where she's like in the wilderness with all of her synth gear and she's just like playing and there's like drone shots of it and it's like and she also goes to these like dilapidated buildings and sets it up. I have no idea where she is in the world, but it's like so weird and like eerie and I'm like beautiful and I'm like, oh, that's so cool. So Polycorpse was kind of born out of watching those, and then the first inkling of it was more of a game pitch. Like I had this idea of like an indie game where you would go out and harvest these things every night and then return home and like cash them in for resources. And then the idea that there were these people also in there harvesting body organs, and then that's where the character of Sarika came from. And then that was like kind of playing with that a lot, and I'm like, I can't code an entire video game. I'm a narrative designer. So I walked that back and being like, oh, well, I can like write this as maybe like a short story or something. And I just kind of experimented with the first scene of the seance itself and then like the musical stuff. And then I was like, I just ended up enjoying it way more. Like I ended up writing those first like 5 to 10 chapters like really quickly. It felt like it was just coming naturally, and then the idea of this other like a whaling fantasy thing that I had cooking kind of just didn't seem as appealing anymore. And I just kept running with it, and like the three acts of it kind of came together fairly simply in my head, and it didn't seem like it was going to be as long of a project, which sounds stupid now. Yeah, past Jarrett, a real rube. But yeah, no, it was still shorter. I think it's still a short novel. I think it's around 90,000 to 100,000 words, somewhere in there. And I think like the fantasy novel probably would have been like 140, 150. And I could just like once I plotted it out, I'm like, oh, this seems achievable. This seems like I could knock this out in a year or whatever. And then yeah, they just kind of got away, and it just kept being built upon. So it started as those YouTube videos of Helene Vogelsinger. I'm probably butchering the pronunciation of
No,
that.
it's actually pretty close. I just looked it up.
That's great because I'm like, if I remember this,
I listened to the first few bars and I'm like, oh, that's like exact of what I imagine the
It's very
haunting
cool.
melodies that we get in the novel.
Yeah, and I'm not even a musician, but I was just like drawn to it, and I was like, this is great.
Oh wow.
And then yeah, the game idea came out of that, and then I have a lot of game ideas a lot of the time. It's really fun to be an idea guy in the game industry, which I'm not because it's like the easiest part of the job is to be the idea guy. So you can
Yeah.
sit there and have ideas till the cows come home. Um, so it's
Yep.
always really fun just to noodle on world building concepts and like all these things. And then sometimes I think even my first book may have came from that as well. It's just like, oh, it'd be cool if a game had all these characters and did all these things. And I think I even got into writing because I was like being a dungeon master and writing campaigns. And then eventually I was like, hey, you know, it'd be cool if no one messed up my story I was telling and it was just a fucking book. Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't ask. Am I allowed to swear on this thing?
Yeah, you can curse. I don't give a
Okay.
fuck.
Whew, okay. I really should have started with that question.
No, it's okay. I in real life I talk like a sailor and it's just perfectly natural. I try to clean it up normally, but it's just not a big deal.
The restraint is admirable. Yeah. I'm
Just
working on
trying,
it.
buddy.
Uh,
Dude, I didn't know you ran D&D campaigns though.
hmm
Like I'm a huge D&D guy. Got a bunch of like miniatures and stuff that
Oh,
I've built
cool.
here.
Heck yeah.
Um yeah, like storytelling in D&D is really fun, but it is kind of annoying when you're trying to tell a really nice narrative and someone goes, "I cast fireball." Fuck.
Yeah, I think that
Yeah.
beginning attempts at being a dungeon master, I was just like railroading people and being like, "This is my
Yeah.
story," and then I realized I'm like, "Well, that's bad D&D, and it's probably a
Yeah.
bad story in the end." So I was like, "I'll just write, and then that will give me an
You get it.
outlet." Because I've
Yeah.
never actually used a pre-built campaign of any sort. I've only ever just like written my own and like just like because I really enjoy that.
Yeah.
And that actually probably got me in the games as well because I was started in games and social media side of thing and marketing, and
Mhm.
then I was DMing for all my coworkers and having a great time, and then I could weasel my way into writing in games through that avenue because I'm like, oh, maybe this is what I want to do with my life, is tell stories and write and do narrative stuff, at least for
Yeah.
now, you know.
Yeah, everything that you do is this is what's making me happy for now, and if it stops, you can
Yeah,
always find the new thing that will.
yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely be digging more into that for the next episode as we talk
Stay
about like
tuned.
video games influence on storytelling and vice versa. I'm very interested for that conversation because I
For
love
sure.
a good story in a video game. Um, but I wanted to go back a little bit, and you're talking about all these short stories and all these partial novels that you've written. Have you ever considered publishing a collection of short stories?
I have. I had a few ideas on how to get these things out there because I have maybe like 12 now, and I think only two have made it into any publication, and I think the rights with those are still pretty open and free. Like I don't think they're locked in. I'd have to double check the contracts I signed, but I'm pretty sure when I looked at them, I'm like, okay, I can still kind of use these. My first idea was to start making zines, and I messed around with like with what is it? It's, Affinity Publisher, and I made some zine layouts, and I was trying to rope my art friend into doing like art for it, and then it didn't really pan out in the end. But I still have this kind of like idea to go back to it because I feel like, have you ever played Mothership? It's a
I
tabletop
think I've heard
RPG.
of it.
It's like a
I
horror.
have heard of it, but I have not played that one.
It's great. I highly recommend playing Mothership. But all their modules are these beautiful little paper books that are, I don't know, probably like this big, and they're just like really beautifully designed pieces of art. And I'm like, oh, I bet you I could turn like short stories into these like little beautifully designed books if I can rope some of my art friends into it. And then it wasn't to distribute online. I was just gonna hit the streets of Vancouver and go to like all the bookstores that carry zines around and like the library and just like start blasting these things out. And then now that I have so many, I'm like, maybe I do like a collection. But then I was like, maybe I do both. Maybe I do all of them originally, and then yeah, ideas were brewing there for sure because the short story world is interesting and it's very intimidating because it's boy, if you like querying, short stories are for you because you're just messaging them off to all these big publications, and I think in our current landscape they're getting just hundreds of submissions a day, maybe not a day, maybe a week. I haven't looked in these in a lot, and I think now with AI on the rise, there's also just like a lot of slop in there too, and it's like the competition is it's they have to one accept your pitch and then like get past like three sentences. It's like I think they're just like blasting through these things. So you are just writing these short stories and sending them to so many of these online publications and magazines that are kind of going out of print. So if you wanted to get into short stories, you have to be writing a lot of short stories and then trying them at all these different places. And then you end up with a bunch of short stories that got nowhere because it's kind of a numbers game, and like some things won't hit at publications, but maybe Clark's World will like one of your stories out of 20 and it just hits them just right, so you got to try to pump them out. So yeah, there's some great stuff too. There's VanCaf here in Vancouver that is kind of like what you were saying. It's kind of it's more of a comics expo of sorts for local, but I've seen authors go there and do their thing. So I was kind of wondering, I'm like, oh, I've got this book, I get some zines out, I can get a booth. Could be fun. I'm just also like, I have this like desire to make them as beautiful as possible. And I do have friends that do art and I could probably wrangle them, but I also want to pay artists. So like, it's going to be a budgeting thing of like, how do I afford the art at the level that I want and envision for these things and not just go bankrupt? Because I am incredibly bad at business. If anyone's like wondering about like the business of launching a book and making money, don't talk to this guy. But yeah, so that's kind of where I'm going with it now is the zine route eventually, now that I have a bunch on. I have some on my website, like I mentioned, just I'll put them out there just because they're on the internet and I can show them to friends if they're so inclined.
That's cool. I do hope you release out a collection at some point because like I said, I really enjoyed Polycorpse. I would love to see more.
Yeah, that's
of your
great.
writing.
I'll do it for you. I'll do it for you, man.
And
Yeah,
in honor of me, I'm okay with that.
100% dedicated as well at the front. Yeah, it's the fun thing about short stories that I really appreciate is that they give me a break from bigger projects in the sense that you can do any genre. Like I think some of them are horror, some of them are fantasy, some of them are sci-fi, some of them are just like modern spec fic. Like you really can do whatever the hell you want, and it's not a huge investment of time, which can feel really cleansing when you're in the middle of a large book. Highly recommend. If you have you dabbled in the short story world?
I am, like I said, I've been working on some short stories for some anthologies that I'm part of. There's one that is going on Kickstarter this September called Rings of Adventure, and I wrote a short story for that. It's done. I agree though. I felt like after writing this and then going to something that was so much smaller, it is very cleansing. Like to not have to keep track of an entire novel's worth of plotting and characters and scenes and pacing and just go, you know what? Let's just punch this out.
Yeah.
Let's get it out there, experiment a little, try something a little different without a lot of risk.
Yep. To kind of pull on what you just said about like keeping track of all the world building and all these like big ideas and stuff. How are you at keeping track of like your world building and all your proper nouns? I find I'm always really impressed with authors that like have these like sprawling series and they know every like continent and every town and every character and like they can just like pull it out of their brain at like a second. And I have never I've never been that guy. I'm like I need to refer to my document to figure out what's going on a lot of the time.
I'm a big document guy as well. I actually remember I was on an interview for someone else's show and we were talking about Crownfall. They were asking me a question and I forgot a name of an entire country. And I couldn't remember it in the moment. I don't know if it was nerves or I was just tired.
That sucks,
but
man.
The entire country, the name was gone. And I'm just like, oh, shit. Yeah. This country that does this. And then I just tried to move on with the explanation. But yeah, I'm a big documents guy. I've been getting really into this program called Obsidian for like documenting all of my stuff.
Yep, I've heard of Obsidian.
Because like I'm a software developer by trade.
Oh,
so
no way.
Like, yeah, so like Obsidian with like the markdown and everything, I'm very comfortable with that and how that all works and links together. Big fan.
You're gonna plan your
I'm
whole project in Jira next time and just like
Oh God, no, not Jira. I'd rather burn Jira to the ground.
someone out there
I get
appreciated that
so annoyed.
joke.
Yes, I
one
hope
one
someone did,
person.
but no, no, thank you, Jira. I do not. I do know somebody that outlines and documents everything in like Google Sheets, in like
Ah,
spreadsheets and stuff like that. Um, Yeah, you probably know her. MJ Kuhn, who also does the show
yes.
with Adrian.
Yep.
Yes, she does all of her outlining through spreadsheets and stuff like that. And she gets really detailed with
Wow.
them. But she's the only person I've ever heard of doing this, and it's very well organized. It's really cool.
Some people love a good spreadsheet. I appreciate the game, to be honest.
Yes.
I've used Google Drive for world building. I use
Mm.
Miro now a lot, which is kind of like
Mm.
a big whiteboardy kind of corkboard thing. I've known people that use Notion. Some of my stuff's in Scrivener. Um,
Yeah, I tried Scrivener a little bit too.
yeah,
Mixed bag. Mixed bag.
yeah. My first novel I wrote entirely in Google Docs, and
Hmm.
once it hit 80,000 words, I think it was like the most nightmare to navigate document. Like it would just freeze, and I was like, "What
It
am
was
I?
one
What am I?"
document?
Yeah, it was one. It was one
No!
document. It was so bad. Don't do that. Yeah, brutal.
No, I write a lot in Google Docs just because I like the portability of it.
Yes.
Like I have my work computer and I have my personal computer, and sometimes I only have my work computer when I'm like traveling and stuff like that. So in my off time, it's nice to be able to hit up the Google Docs, but every chapter is its own document.
That's really smart. That's actually a really good idea.
I
Um,
suggest it.
yeah, I'm gonna go back like 10 years and tell past Jarrett to not do that.
Time machines, we
Yeah,
need them.
since then, Scrivener's been helpful, and then Dropbox,
Yeah.
I just put stuff in so I can kind of work on my laptop and bop around a bit.
Yeah. The
'Cause
importance of backing up.
yeah, and I find less and less I want to work at my desk at home. I'd rather take my laptop and go to like a cafe or a bar or something just to get out.
Yeah.
I find I kind of go insane at this desk now that I'm a full remote work guy, so anytime
Yeah.
away from this desk is now very valued. So.
No, I understand that.
Mhm.
Do you have a favorite place that you like to go to, like a particular cafe, bar, or park?
Oh yeah, there's some great cafes up Main Street, so I'm kind of like in a Mount Pleasant area. There is Parallel 49 Coffee I do enjoy. They have great donuts there on Main Street. That's kind of like there's Forecast across the street from it as well. There used to be a great place called Kafka's that is no longer there. I think they moved. Yeah, East Van is full of like hipster joints, like for coffees. I get people constantly being like, "I think I saw you in East Van." I'm like, "No, that's some other white hipster with glasses and a beard." Like, there's like millions of us out here. Yeah, lots of great coffee joints, great bookshops, great record stores. Mount Pleasant's pretty great in Vancouver. If you're ever in town, I'll show you around.
I think Worldcon 2027 is going to be.
Yeah, that's a big one here.
Yeah, I think that's going to be up there. I'm hoping to be there because I've met a lot of Canadian authors at this point. I'm looking forward to hopefully meeting you all in person there.
Yeah, hit
It's
me
going to
up.
be my first Worldcon, so I'm
Cool.
excited.
I haven't gone to it yet. I looked for I think last year, and then it just didn't. The timing didn't really line up.
Yeah, this
But
year it's in LA, in California, and I was
oh,
just like, I don't want to drive that.
what con am I thinking of?
Before that, it was in Glasgow.
Okay, so Worldcon is now happening here in Canada.
It's going to be in Canada in 2027.
Okay, that I should go to that.
You should.
Good.
It's in your
Good to
neck of the
know.
woods.
Yeah, totally.
Uh,
Cool.
we are nearing the end of the episode already, which shocked me because I feel like we just started. But I do want to ask you one more question, and we tacked on this a little bit earlier.
Hmm.
But of like all the projects and everything that you have coming up, what would you say is the thing that you're most looking forward to working on?
Um, what I'm okay. I have been really working on my kick flips, and I feel like this is the year I'm going to get one. And actually, more than
Nice.
anything, I think that's actually what I'm excited for, which is crazy. But as a 36-year-old man, that's dumb. That is
No, that's
bananas.
awesome.
But I think out of like my writing projects, Probably the next novel, but it also scares me immensely. Every time I think about it, I get excited, but also feel like I'm terrified at the same time because it's like so much work. And now that I've done Polycorpse, I know the amount of work. And the next project is probably going to be like, I don't know, Polycorpse is about 90,000 words. I'm kind of aiming for like 140, kind of getting to that more traditional fantasy space length of book. That scares me a lot because I think there's a lot of world building that is a little loose right now and some structural things. But I think, look out for that on bookshelves in 5 years, gang. It's going to be a killer. But I'm excited to get back to it in the fall. This is my summer of vibing out and just enjoying the weather now that I've done this. But like I think once the fall settles in, those leaves start to change color, getting back to writing is going to feel really good. So that is my big next project. Unless I throw it out and do something different, which is also an option.
That is going to be really good.
And I know this went really quick, but if you want to do a rapid fire round as well, I can do these things quickly. I can not get distracted.
Oh no, dude, you're fine. Like, this was really good. Like, I've been really enjoying this conversation. The questions are only there to help guide it if needed, but I'm not too worried about it at all.
Oh, I had a question for you.
Shoot.
I'm the worst guest. I'm just totally going off the cuff. But
nah, you're doing great.
How many
Take
books
over the show.
do
It's
you
yours
read
now.
a year?
My goal is every year I try to read 52 books. I try to read.
Books.
I've never made it. But this year I might. And the big reason I'm able to do that is, one, audiobooks. I could not get through that many books without audiobooks because I simply just don't have the time to just sit down and do nothing else but read. And the only time I make sure to do that now is if there's a book I want to read that doesn't have an audiobook, which does happen a lot with a lot of the indie books that I read. And like I'm helping judge for the Spiffbo competition right now, and a lot of those don't have indie books, so I need to spend some time sitting down and reading every day to get through those. But so far, let's see, I think last year I did 42 or 43 books. I was like off by 10, but
That's still
this
a
year,
lot. That's really impressive.
I'm constantly going through them. Like I do not stop. I do think I'm going to hit it this year, but I only think I'm going to do that is because I started reading novellas this year.
Ah.
I think that's how I'm going to get there.
Honestly, a good novella is great because you feel like you finished a book and you can just blast through them. Fantastic.
Yeah. I've been really enjoying them lately. Like it's like writing short stories in between writing novels. The novellas and the standalones are just really nice in between these long fantasy and sci-fi series that I typically read.
If I read a big, thick book, I usually go and then find a small book to counter it.
Yeah.
In some way.
Yeah, you need that palate cleanser. Otherwise, it just feels like, I'm here again. This is just more of what I've just done.
Totally.
I get it.
Totally. I feel that. But that's very impressive. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. That was it.
But,
I just really wanted to know.
No, you're good, man. Jarrett, do me a favor. Tell the people, where can they find you? Where can they find your books?
You can find me at www.jarrettpoole.com. That was probably the best place to go because it has a page about my book. It has all some short stories. You'll be able to find everything through that portal. If you want to see me just shit posting online, probably Blue Sky is the spot to go. It's at Not Crucial. That's kind of where I end up posting the most off the cuff stuff. I do post on Instagram under Jarrett_Van, but that's more like personal life zone. It's less about sharing. Like I had to reactivate it and approach it from a whole different angle this last year as Polycorpse came out. But yeah, those are probably the big spots you can find me.
Awesome, man. Like, thank you again so much for coming on to the show. Really appreciate it.
Anytime. This was great. I can ramble like this for days, so this is perfect. The perfect venue.
That's going to be perfect then, because we're going to have you on again next week, which for us will be in about 5 minutes, about talking about video games and storytelling.
Yeah, now that's a topic I'll go off. I'm going to do like a whole rant about like why the Final Fantasy VII remake wasn't great or something like that for like an hour.
Ooh,
and then you're
I'm ready
like,
for your
I'm
TED
never
Talk.
having this guy on again.
No, I'm definitely ready for this TED Talk now.
Yeah.
This is going to be great. But folks, until next time, let's be author adjacent together. See ya. Damn, man, that was great.